about time we talked. Essentially, when pandemic land started to seem like a real reality, we had just been on the road with our great friends, Glorious Sons, and we were on the road with them from LA to Denver, and then basically that show ended. We cried and hugged and threw up in the parking lot, and we drove back here and kind of parted ways. And that tour kept going. They played a couple gigs, and then all of a sudden it was very clear that there was not going to be tours. There was not going to be an entertainment business, certainly not a music business in the way we had ever seen. And once that happened, the oh shit, what the fuck do we do mentality crept up. And I feel like we were quite lucky, because where we were in our record cycle, we had basically been writing a bunch of shit, like stuff from like a couple years ago on the Headstones tour. The tour was odd. It was dumb routing wise for us. It was 2 months, but it was only like 25 shows. So we drove like 25,000 kilometers, but there was a lot of time in between those gigs to just write songs, talk shit, make things, you know. And so when it came post Glorious Sons tour, we had this moment of time. We just reflected. We listened to all that shit. And we listened to all the stuff we'd done since then. And we started to kind of try and piece something together. But that sounds like we had a real plan. We fucking didn't, right? Pandemic hit. I was a country away from my band, my wife, my family. I had my sweet little dog Stringer. And once things started to get real hairy, I was in Los Angeles, and I was like, the last thing I want to do is be in a city with 18 million neighbors. So I went to the desert. I took the band's RV. I went to Joshua Tree, and basically I just walked around. Stringer ran around and chased rabbits. And I brought a camera, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to film something. I don't know what I'm going to film, but I'm certain there's no situation in which I go to the desert with no people and a lot of time and don't come out with something cool. So the very first thing I did, I was rounding this corner. There's no cell reception. I was having probably one of the worst days of my life. And I came over this hill, and I just saw this valley, and like where I'd been in Joshua Tree before, like there's lots to look at. There was mountains, and there was these Joshua trees are fucking like 500 years old. They're everywhere. And then I got over this hill, and it was just nothing, flat. And I don't mean nothing. Like I think when people look at the desert and say they see nothing, it's fucking stupid. It's like, just keep looking. If you just keep looking at what you're calling nothing, it'll start to move. And it always did. There was always something where you thought there wasn't. There was always life where you thought there couldn't be. And it was those lessons I tried to take into these songs. Ones that I thought were dead, or ones that I thought were they were trying too hard to be full of life, maybe weren't. So basically, whatever. I spent a couple weeks just like with the sand and snakes, and that was honestly a pretty decent time, because it was early, right? And like I'm not a nurse, I'm not a truck driver. I have the luxury of getting to just get the fuck away from everyone in a pandemic and somehow pretend I'm being productive, you know. So I did. And I was out there for a long time, and from that kind of turned these like seeds of ideas that we had from the old tours and like a bunch of like cell phone recordings from our old rehearsal space. It built them into something enough that I was like, I think we have something to actually build on. So every day it was just a lot of talking back and forth with the band, trying to figure out, okay, all right, what the fuck are we gonna do with this? What feels good, what feels truly inspired versus what's just, I'm in a desert alone and I'm easily distracted. And so we just kept going through songs and ideas, and the nice thing about having having the band I do is like they're happy to entertain all my really stupid fucking ideas, you know? At least to the point where I chase them down, I get to the end zone and I'm like, this is bad. Like, this is a bad idea. Let's not use this. So there was a lot of that. But besides musically, like, I was living in an RV like Walter White in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And shit gets fucked up when you're in that kind of environment for long enough. There was one day, and I posted a video of this on our Instagram stories when I thought it was still funny. Essentially, there was a bunch of flying fucking something or others, like flying ants or something. And they were going kind of like around the RV, and I was just like, whatever, man, I'm an impenetrable fortress. These fucking pricks can't get in. And I was laughing. I was taking videos of them. I remember like being like, anyone got a flamethrower? I want to Rick Dalton these fucks. Laughing like, ha ha ha, this will never bite me in the ass. And I sat there for a couple hours because it's like middle of the day and it's like 46, like almost 50 degrees a lot of days there. And that day, like the buzzing was like loud enough I could almost feel it. Like it wasn't a sound. It was like there was so many hundreds of thousands of these pricks. Like you could almost feel the sound. At which point I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to assess the back of the RV. Cause just make sure I'm fine. Because like all the windows are closed. I'm an impenetrable fortress. We're going to be fine. So I go into the back. And when I go into the back, there is about 700 flying ants on my bed. At least. And then I start lifting shit up, and there's at least 700 more under the mattress. I look on the ground, there's 700 more on the floor. Every single surface in this fucking thing was covered in these pricks. So I resist the urge to just light the whole thing on fire. And I'm like, okay, first thing I gotta do, I just gotta drive away from the swarm. I have enough of a problem inside of this. I can't get rid of what's inside if what's outside is still just gonna fucking attack me. So I'm throwing shit in the goddamn RV. I'm yelling at my dog like, get in the fucking car, blah, blah, blah. We drive away, we drive like 2 blocks. And this is on a freeway. Pardon me, not a freeway. This is like it's paved, but it's 2 lanes in the middle of absolute desert in everywhere in every direction. So there's no shoulder. So I basically block half a lane, pull over, and I'm just throwing shit out the side of the fucking RV. I'm throwing mattresses. I'm throwing sleeping bags. I'm throwing all my clothes. I'm throwing towels. I'm throwing all of Stringer's bedding. I am just launching shit out of the door into the fucking dirt or the sand. And fucking flies are just fucking ripping off that thing. And then once the RV is like empty-ish enough that I can start doing some murdering, I put on my flip-flops because I'm a tactical man. And I don't even aim. There's enough of them I don't have to aim where I plant my foot. And I just start tap dancing. Just. And everywhere I step, I kill like 15 of these fucking pricks. And I do that for like an hour. And Stringer's trying to help, but I don't want him to get sick or anything. So I'm just like, he's mad at me and I'm mad at him because he wants to help. I don't want him to get sick. And we're just like freaking the fuck out. And the whole time, every like 2 minutes, I'm like, maybe I should just light this thing on fire and just call it a day. So I'm just doing this, and I realize what I look like because like I've been in the desert for a while. I got fucking my shitty beard's growing out. I'm sunburned. I'm shirtless, wearing like short tie-dye swim trunks, and I'm just throwing mattresses into the fucking sand like a meth cook. And people are driving by very slowly to see what I'm doing, but no one's asking if I need help because like you don't want to help a guy who looks like me in that particular moment. So I'm just fucking throwing this shit and killing these fucking pricks and cleaning and throwing shit out to the point where I'm like, I think I'm like, okay, I have enough of them dead and gone. I got to do another drive away from the scene because anything with wings can just fucking follow me or stick around unless I drive fast enough. So I take all the bedding, fucking shake it out, throw it back in, drive down the highway, another like 10 miles probably, pull over again. Then I get on the roof because I'm like, where are these fucking guys coming from? I go on the roof, and in the air conditioner, there's like 2,000 just hovered right in it. If I go close to it and I go 300 gold fly out the other fucking side. I'm just like, oh my God. And it's 46 degrees at least. So I just start fucking trying to blow these things out. Tap dance on them. Blow them out the other way. Tap dance on them. People driving by very infrequently because like I'm in the middle of maybe a state park. I don't know where I was. It wasn't a real road. And then I finally, like hours later, I'm just like, okay, I got enough of these fuckers dead. Time to relax. I put on some Debussy. I need just some quiet music. And I'm sitting on a lawn chair with my same dazzling outfit of tie-dye swim trunks, stringer on a leash. And my dog's Stringer, he's like a moose. He's like a big dog. And I look crazy as fuck. I know this. I'm intentionally looking unapproachable so people don't approach me because I'm not having a nice time. And fucking dude pulls up right beside me. I'd say that sounds like pavement. It's more like because there's dirt and stuff. He pulls over and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I know I'm parked illegally. I didn't care. I didn't think anyone would show up. And so I assume I have to explain why I'm parked illegally to this man. And I'm like, "Oh, hey, yeah, just I was in the back over there. I had to deal with some infestations and I drove away." And this guy's just like, coronavirus was rained down on top of us from computers and chemtrails 10 years ago, and it's actually been activated in the back of your throat, and the only way that you can get rid of it is with Palmolive and Gatorade. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I haven't talked to a human being in like a month. I'm like, tell me more. Tell me more. And he does. That was a mistake, was to tell this man to tell me more. So he just starts ripping into all these fucking ideas. It's an insult to ideas to call them ideas because like penicillin, electricity were ideas. These were not ideas. These were a fucking lunatic rambling. And all of a sudden, at some point, I look at his car and I'm just like, he keeps talking. And I'm like, how can I interrupt this man enough that he might leave? I'm just like, hey, dude, what happened to your car? And he's like, well, you know what they're raining down on this area. So I cover my car in Palmolive and Gatorade. And it keeps the government radiation away. And I'm like, okay, interesting. I imagine your teeth are rotting out of your skull if that's your plan. And he just goes and he goes. And I'm just like, okay, how do you tell a guy like this to shut the fuck up in a way that he actually will and you don't get murdered? Because like, there's a real chance I'm going to get murdered here because like, I look crazy enough. I'm not a gigantic bastard, but I'm also not like a tiny old person. So if you're stopping to talk to me in fucking tie-dye swim trunks with a moose on a leash, shirtless, sunburned after a goddamn flying ant war, you're crazier than I look. And I'm just like, fuck, okay, how do I stop this guy from talking? And I look him right in the eyes and I go, brother, thank you for speaking the truth. And he snaps out of it. He's like, you put that out on the airwaves, buddy. And he fucking rips away. And that was the only way I was going to get rid of that particular bastard.